How's it going, y'all? Welcome back to the Go Podcast. This podcast is about me, Gil, and the things that I'm currently obsessed with. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about gear, and not just gear, but gear with purpose. Like a lot of times, us as creators, we use gear as a way to uh, spend money. A lot of us love spending money naturally, either on ourselves, with clothes, shoes, gadgets, cars. And for creatives, we have gear acquisition syndrome, short for gas, where we just are buying, splurging, and coming up with a bunch of excuses or fake reasons as to why we need to buy a set of things. All right, let's jump right into it. We're going to start with gear with purpose, the why behind the tech. When I started photography, which was pretty much the reason why I'm doing all of this content creating stuff, I started in photography and I learned everything that I needed to learn. I got the camera, I got a decent lens to take pictures, and the majority of the work that I was doing, I was mostly photographing baby showers, bar mitzvahs, sweet 16s, family birthday parties, uh, of a great aunt or a great great grandma who is like super old and everybody needs her pictures. Those were the shoots that I was doing. And every once in a while, I'll do a modeling gig that I found on Craigslist, but I wasn't doing anything super wild and crazy. But I saved up enough money and I was gun ho and set on buying a long lens. If you're a photographer, or even if you're not a photographer, you know, oh, she got a long lens. Look at that. She's a professional. Oh, he's got a long lens. You know, he knows what he's doing. I really wanted that. I wanted people to look at me and say he's professional, or I wanted to actually feel certified. Like this was going to be at the time, maybe like 2015, 2016. This is going to be like my first big photography purchase. It was a Tamron 70 to 200 millimeter G2 lens. At the time, I think it was like $1,900, close to 2,000. And this was going to be like my first big photography purchase for a lens. And granted, if you know anything about photography, and I listed all the things that I was photographing, bar mitzvahs, sweet 16s, uh, great aunts, you know, funeral or birthday party, whatever the case is. None of that really entails using a portrait lens like the 70 to 200, but I told myself that I needed it. And I made up so many excuses as to why. So I ended up getting the lens. I got the lens and I was super excited and I just started taking pictures. I did have somebody in my corner telling me, do not buy the lens, buy another lens instead, a 24 to 70. My friend Jake, who is a photographer and who pretty much taught me a lot of the things I know about photography and videography, he was like, dude, buy the 24 to 70, skip the 70 to 200. You can buy a 24 to 70 and you would use it way more because you're not going to use the 70 to 200, the long lens. And I said, dude, I got to get the long lens. I gotta let people know that I'm legit. I gotta let people, like, this is not the same lens, but this is like a general, like, idea so you can see. I gotta get the long lens. And he's like, dude, stop. Don't worry about what people think. You're a great photographer. Just take great pictures, but get a lens that fits your use case. And he was telling me this. I didn't listen because I wanted what I wanted. So I ended up buying the 70 to 200, the long lens. And I ended up, I don't remember what the first shoot was. It was probably like, I don't know, maybe in a party or an event. And it was in a small venue. It's always in a small venue. And that lens was practically useless. Did it look cool? It did. Shooting at 2.8, it looked amazing. But when people were asking to do group pictures, I couldn't do it. I had to like back up all the way. And then I realized that although I wanted this lens, none of my current client work really entails me using this lens at all. Like I wasn't doing model shoots. I wasn't doing any of that. So long story short, whenever you are purchasing gear, evaluate what it is that you're actually doing, because I don't even use that lens anymore. That lens I rented out. And it's a Nikon F mount. So I don't even really shoot Nikon as much anymore. So I rent it out as much as possible, and because I don't use it. So whenever you are purchasing something, make sure that you going to be using it, not for a superficial reason, but for actual reason that's going to push the needle forward for your clients. So make sure that it's going to push the needle forward for your clients and not make you look like you know what you're doing. Because that's the last thing. Trying to impress. Because the thing about buying the 70-200, there was no purpose behind it. I honestly just bought it just because I feel like I needed the lens. And eventually, as I grew as a creative, as I grew as a photographer, that lens was essential, especially for studio shoots. I remember when me and my wife bought this house, I said, I'm going to turn this room into a photography studio. And I did. And I started to use the lens, and the lens was practically useless. I mean, I would shoot at 70 millimeters, the most minimal focusing distance at 70 millimeters. And I think at one point I couldn't do portraits. So all I did was headshots. So I would just do headshots and here with the 70-200, because that's all I really could do. This room is not that big. It's not that big, but it's not small either. But it's a decent size, but it just has its use, right? The use case, I wasn't using it for its proper use. Right now, I feel like I'm using the room for what it's really meant to do, is just really shoot talking head videos, doing YouTube, doing projects, playing on my PC. But yeah, so this segment right here, make sure whenever you're buying gear, especially for podcast production, you're buying gear that's going to push the needle forward for your clients. All right, let's get on to the next segment. Save time. Save time, save time, save time. The great Tom Buck, he's a great YouTuber, funny guy. He says this quote. He says this like every now and then. It's all about eliminating friction with your setup, with your workflow. You should be able to see where there is friction, where there is like resistance. And he didn't say invest, but I interpreted it as invest into the things that will help you eliminate friction in your setup. And that's something that I take wholeheartedly. When I first started producing podcasts, there really wasn't a tool like the Rodecaster Video. There was, but there really wasn't at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? Even before the Rodecaster Pro came out, when I wanted to produce podcasts for clients, myself or my friends, you had to have like a makeshift way of doing it. I remember I got a Yamaha MGX10U, I think it's called. It's a mixer, and this was like one of the best mixers you can have if you wanted to do like a mobile podcast anywhere. And I got it. I went and got it, and I started to use it, started to learn. But immediately I noticed there were so many things like friction that was not allowing me to produce content comfortably. I at the time was renting out my room, this very room, and I was using the Yamaha MGX10U, I think that's what it is, and I was renting it out for people to come and do podcasts. I have done live streamed podcasts in here using that Yamaha mixer, and I was just struggling to make things work. I had adapters for that. I had an adapter to connect the phone because I had musicians coming in here playing music off of their phones. Anything that they wanted, I would try to learn and apply it to with this mixer. It was tough. I had one client who wanted to do phone interviews, and I just struggled to learn how to make it possible. And it worked. There's so many trial and error going on with that Yamaha mixer. But eventually, I got a system down. It was tough, but I was able to make it work. And then down the line, this company called Rode came out with a Rodecaster Pro. It is one I wouldn't call it the first, I wouldn't call it the first podcasting equipment, because theoretically speaking, a lot of tools that we were using back in the day was podcasting equipment. It just wasn't geared towards it. You just made it work. But Rode made the Rodecaster Pro, and from my knowledge, it's the first podcasting equipment or equipment made specifically for podcasting. And just it just saved me so much time. At the time I was doing a podcast with someone, and it was a client, and they were so against the idea of buying a Rodecaster Pro. They were like, no, Rodecaster, that's not good, dude. I'm telling you, you have everything you need right here with this Yamaha. But the issue is, they didn't do what I did. They only used the Yamaha mixer when I was engineering, and they never really did anything outside of it. So they would only use the Yamaha mixer for its limited capacity in a limited way. But I wanted to do phone calls, live streams. I wanted to add sound panels. I wanted to, put sound effects in. I wanted to do a bunch of other cool stuff. And at the time, I just got into Ecamm Live, and I'm trying to make sure that I'm able to like use it to its full potential. And then I wanted to actually be more mobile with my podcast setup. With my Yamaha, it was kind of clunky and a little bit hectic the way that I made everything work. There was wires and cables everywhere. It just wouldn't necessarily work the way that I would want it to. And I wasn't even really sure if I could make it work. But I knew that the Rodecaster Pro, the first one, when it came out, it answered all of my problems. At the time, my mentor had it, and I said, dude, I gotta hold this thing. Can you let me borrow it? So you let me borrow it for like, I think it was like 2 days. And immediately I told my wife, listen, this thing's going to save me so much time. I'm going to be able to record a podcast for a client, have it saved, upload it to the computer, and then it'll be finished and edited. And we could watch Gilmore Girls like as many times as we want instead of me wrestling and fighting, upstairs trying to make everything work with this Yamaha mixer. So I gave back the Rodecaster Pro to my mentor, and I was like, I'm going to buy this thing. 2 of my friends and one of my clients, so 3 people, were like, dude, don't buy it. This is a waste of money. This is what the industry wants you to do. They want you to like spend money and be like, and be irresponsible. But I was actually making money producing podcasts, not a lot of money. When I first started engineering podcasts, I was charging maybe like, I don't know, like $30, $30. And this was like audio podcast. I wasn't doing anything crazy. I wasn't adding intros and outros. I was just recording audio. And then I subsequently started adding video. So I think I was starting like charging maybe $75 for like video. And then I was doing live streams for $100. So they would come to my home studio, sit down for like 30 minutes to an hour, and do a whole podcast, and I'll upload it live onto YouTube using Ecamm Live at the time. So, but again, practicing and learning and making it work. None of my friends, clients did any of that, nor did they understand the struggle. So when I upgraded to the Rodecaster Pro, so many of them, well, 3 people were like, dude, you're wasting money. This is not good. But eventually I got so much time back. When I used to do a podcast with my friend Willie. The podcast was called, I forget the name of it now, but we did a podcast, and the editing process, or after we record, it wasn't daunting. It was just a lot of steps, right? Got to make sure that I have the input recording, have the Yamaha mixer, taking in the input and then sending the USB output to GarageBand, making sure GarageBand is good, making sure I'm saving it to a SSD or hard drive because I don't want to save it internally in case something happens to my computer. It was just a lot of stuff, making sure that I'm sending the file to Audacity to edit and just going through the whole thing. And it was just a lot of steps, but I made it work, learning how to do everything. And then at the time, um, I don't think there was like a podcasting hosting platform that was free. At the time, Anchor wasn't around, like Spotify for podcasters was not around. So the only way that I was able to actually get my podcast out there was to use my website. So I would use my actual website and host the audio on there and send the RSS feed to Apple, um, Google Podcasts. Google had a podcast platform at the time. They don't have one anymore in 2026, but I'd send that RSS feed everywhere, and that's how I would get the podcast out. It was literal work, and it took a lot of time. And I would rather had spend that time hanging out with my wife. So when I got the Rodecaster Pro, I got so much time back. The consistency with the audio, intros and outros, adding an extra layer and dimension to my shows. It just made everything better. When you're buying gear or thinking about gear, think about eliminating friction and think about how much time you can get back. Like, instead of you buying a cheap camera or a cheap microphone, then editing it later to get the good sound or the good image, just buy a fairly decent camera that gets the job done. Literally. Like, I think I spoke about it on the last episode, how I have two Sony A7Cs and I have the menu settings the same because it helps me save time instead of me just fiddling with different camera brands and camera models. So remember, if you want to eliminate friction, you have to get things that make sense for you and you're going to get time back. All right. Let's move on to the next segment, and that'll be the last segment for the show. But don't worry, we have a gear segment, and we do have a couple of Q&As. So, to me, the most important thing is the client experience. The client experience is paramount. The reason why I'm able to produce multiple podcasts for people, brands, businesses that are in my vicinity, like, local, and people making me travel, is because when they work with me, I go above and beyond to please the client. I make sure that they understand what's going on. I always take the opportunity to teach, and even if it's like a non-paid gig, like if I'm at a place and I just so happen to be there and somebody's having trouble. I remember when I was at Art Basel last year in December, I just so happened to be walking back to my venue. I took a break. I was doing podcasts all afternoon, and I took maybe like a 30-minute break, and I'm walking, and there were a few older women trying to take photos of some, I don't remember. It was like a sculpture or a piece of like a sculpture, art installation that somebody had, put up in the middle of the street. And they were trying to take the photo and they were having issues. And I just could tell that they were having issues. I just felt that they were like wrestling with something creatively. So I said, "Hey, excuse me, do you need help?" She's like, "Oh, no, we good. We know where we're going." I'm like, "No, you need help with the pictures." She's like, "Yeah, we just don't understand. Like, why is this thing, it's not looking good. It's like a little fuzzy." And I was like, "Oh, all you got to do is wipe the lens." So I took their phone. Said, "Can I grab your phone?" And I just wiped it with my shirt, wiped it, and I took the photo. And they're like, "Oh my God, that looks so good." And I was like, "Oh, actually, if you want to make it look more interesting and have everything like blurred out in the background to make it look like a professional camera, oh, are you going to tell me to buy a camera?" I was like, No. You have 3 lenses on here. Utilize your camera's portrait feature or cinematic mode. You'll be able to take high quality images. So I took her phone and I said, "Actually, you do it. Go here." I made her like slide the phone, and she took her own image. The look on her face when she looked at the photo, she was like, "That's my phone?" I've been wondering, she was like, I've been wondering every time they may come out with a new phone, they talk about the camera's good, but I never see how good the camera is until now. And she's just so excited showing her friend. Her friend's like, do me, do me, do me. And I'm like, oh, hey, yo, but yeah, I'll take your phone and show you how to do everything. And it was so fun. And me, that does so much for me. So anytime I'm doing a shoot with a client, I'm always taking I always will find an opportunity to elevate the experience. Make sure that they understand when they're coming on set with me, they're going to learn something. Another thing about client experience is everything that uh, you do should be in everything as far as like equipment wise, uh, eliminating friction. All that is for client experience, buying the right gear, the proper gear for them so that they can save time. Because when you save time creating, they save time because you're not fussing with stuff. Speaking of saving time and elevating my setup, shout out to Kamal of Blaze Photography. Check him out on Instagram. He put me onto this iFootage light stand. You can see it in the background here. It holds a softbox, flash, strobe. So that's something that he was telling me that I should invest in. He was able to give me a constructive criticism about my setup and say, hey, get this, it'll make your setup more efficient and easier instead of just putting the tripod and setting everything up and taking up a lot of space. This is going to conserve space. That is pretty dope. So let's get to one of my favorite segments in this show, and that is gear talk. Let's talk about gear. If you follow me on YouTube, you know a couple of months ago I went and got the DJI mic 3s, and I got 4. So I have 4 of the microphones. So I'm able to connect up to 4 with the receiver. So I'm able to transmit 4, and it's cool. Like I'm able to connect the audio cable to my camera, right, and get the audio cable there. But I wanted to make my setup more functional. So one thing that I got right after I bought the Rode, after I got the DJI Mic 3, was this adapter. This adapter, let's cover my face, y'all. This adapter sits right on top of my camera. And what this does, since the A7C, A7 IV, they have we have a hot shoe, I'm able to convert and make my DJI Mic 3 send the audio signal directly into my camera, so I don't need a cable. So that means I'm cable free. So let's see if I can set it up on my Sony A7S II. So it just fits into the hot shoe like that. And then I grab the receiver, which is right here. And then the receiver comes with this USB thingamabob. It's in the case, like this USB thing. And all you got to do is put it in there. So you just take it like that. It looks so weird. Like I want to show you how weird it looks. It looks very bizarre. And all you got to do is there's like a USB-C port on top of this receiver, and you just pop it in. Now I'm able to get audio from the wireless mic and be fed directly into the camera. It saves me so much time because I'm going to be honest. As soon as I got the DJI Mic 3s, I filmed the video with it and about them. Then I shot a documentary, and then I was able to get hired by a client, and he wanted some videos, and he's like, yeah, do you have like wireless mics? I hate how tough this thing is to come out. I said, yeah, I got wireless mics or whatever. And I went on the set, and I completely left the 3.5 adapter to the DJI. And I didn't have one in my bag at the time because I'm really expecting this to be a quick social media shoot. And luckily, I don't know how luckily I wouldn't say I finessed him, I'm more so like, I said something like, yo, do you have like wireless mics or something? He's like, what? I was like, wait, you don't got wireless mics? He's like, yeah, I got me the DJIs, man. I was like, really? You got the DJI mics? Let me see. Let me see the mic. Let me see if you got the mic. I was like, oh snap. I was like, these got noise canceling, all these other, yeah, man. Oh, I said, you want to use them? You want to use them on the set? Yeah. Use them. Are they better than mine? Are they better than yours? I'm like, yeah, bro, they're just the same. Literally the same, man. They're just a different name. Oh, and so I plugged it into my camera, and I was able to save the day. Yeah, it's one of the things where I'm like, you have to be able to, because if I were to say, if I, and if I were to say, yo, I didn't come prepared with that thing you asked me about, I probably wouldn't be working with him. I've done 2 more projects with him after, so 3. And it's like one of the things where you want to make sure that you are creating a great client experience. So I didn't lie. I just made sure that I covered the base. I made sure that I'm making sure that he sees me, and when we do the shoot, he's having a good time. I make him feel good, complimenting him, and was able to have a good time. All right. So that's my gear talk. That's the gear. I love it because it takes away a whole lot of headache. So I don't have to worry about, bringing in that cable or losing that cable, that audio cable. It's fine. And yeah, it's pretty dope. It's just now that if I don't have that or the cable, what am I even doing? What am I even doing? So I have no excuse. All right. So now let's move on to another segment of the show, which I like to call Q&A. You've got questions, I've got answers, hopefully. And if you want to send messages, you can DM me or leave a voicemail at speakpipe.com/Gil. All right, this is a special Q&A because I got a question from my guy, Tom Buck. Tom asks, how do you decide when to make an integral gear change like ATEM to Rodecaster Video or Rodecaster Video 2S? That's a phenomenal question. To me, it's all about workflow, and the workflow always kind of falls down to how can I expedite my service for my clients? So then subsequently, I could spend more time watching Gilmore Girls with my wife. That's what it's always about. How can I save time? What are things that is going to enable me to save time? With the A10 Mini Extreme ISO, it was a great system. It was a great workflow, but it required a whole lot of stuff that involved Blackmagic, the company. With the A10 Mini Extreme ISO, there was a lot of if this then that. I'll have to purchase a particular type of audio Y cable to send the audio from my Rodecaster Pro to the A10 Mini so that the audio is in sync. Then I have to make sure that the A10 is powered. Plus, I got to make sure that the Rodecaster Pro is being powered and there's no interferences there. I have to make sure that there was it was a lot of moving parts. It was a hot mess. It was annoying. And setting up took a long time because there's a lot of testing. I can make sure the cable's good, make sure I plug the right cable in, make sure that I press mic on on the ATEM, or else nothing is happening. So that was the tough. There were so many times where I recorded a podcast with a client and I forgot to press the mic on button on the ATEM. And I would have to match lips because I'll be recording the audio on the Rodecaster Pro, on the Rodecaster Pro 2, and I'll have to match their lips. I would have to match the audio with the lips. Literally. It there were so many issues. And when I started to use the Rodecaster Video, everything was just seamless. Even before I used it, I watched a ton of your videos and I could have afforded it, but I told myself before I buy it, let me at least use it and use it extensively to the point where I know it like the back of my hand. So I've built podcast spaces for clients here. Like I have the Rodecaster Video. This is the Rodecaster Video right here. I'm using the Video S right now. This is owned by Joy, the owner of the Co-Space located in Miami Gardens. So if you're ever in the area and you want to find a co-working space, check it out. Um, so I use her Rodecaster Video a lot, but now I have my own. And having my own means I could like do a lot of cool stuff. Like I could, do the lower thirds and put that because it's mine. But also now I have that skill set to where I can share that. But to answer your question, when I see that there is some friction in my workflow and getting the work to my clients, and if there's something that comes out to make that system more easier for my clients and for myself and for me spending time with my wife and watching Gilmore Girls, I'll invest into it. That's the honest truth. I never really buy anything. I buy stuff for myself for sure, but it's more so, how can this save me time? Because I could be doing a lot of different things. It's the main reason why I got the PC. Let me take my lower third down. It's the main reason why I got the PC. Like it does a lot of cool stuff and helps me save a lot of time. But that's to answer your question. I think about how can I save time and get the content that I'm filming for my clients to them quicker and efficiently. And the Rodecaster Video just does a great job of compartmentalizing everything together. It does audio, it does video, it has wireless capabilities. I'm able to, do cool and interesting stuff like this, on the fly. Like it's pretty dope. And I'm controlling this either physically on the console itself or on my computer. Can't you can do that on the ATEM, but it's not as easy. And clients like easy. And if clients like easy, they're going to pay for it. So that's pretty much it. All right, let's move on to the next question here. And it is from L, a friend of the show. What's a small overlooked thing that can immensely elevate a podcast? Another great question. And I had to think about this. I didn't come up with the answers. None of these answers like beforehand. This was all kind of like thought out right now. The thing that I at the very moment, in 2025, 2026, in the year of our Lord, I think it's just having a workflow. A workflow is super overlooked. Um, and I guess you can get in my head here. Anytime a client asks me, "Hey, I want you to do a live stream podcast," my brain goes, "I'm going to be using Ecamm Live." Um, that's what I'll be using. I'll be using a computer. Uh, I have the DJI mics, and they're talking about what this event really means to them. And this is my grandfather's last tour in South Florida. And I'm like thinking, grandfather, he's old, so I can't use I have to use like a light mic. Oh, I can just lav him up with the DJI mic. Okay, great. And he has multiple speakers. Okay, I have 4 DJI mics. So whoever's speaking, I could just lav them up. And as they talk, I could turn their mic on and off by connecting it with my phone. So I immediately just start thinking of the workflow. And then once I have the workflow in my head after they start blabbing about their show or event, I'll say yes or no. Because me developing the workflow in my head, I know the difficulties if I need to hire anybody. I know what it entails and will it be worth my time, right? So having a workflow is vitally important for a podcast. So because you're going to know how you're going to edit it, how everything's going to be working together. Like now my workflow is pretty much set. Uh, I put up a Q&A on Instagram and people would reply to it and ask me a question, and I would take those questions, screenshot them, and copy and paste them into Canva and do my little thing, download the video, import that video into my Rodecaster Video S, and then that's a scene. So when I'm doing the segment, what's a small overlooked thing that can immensely elevate a podcast? Workflow. if I edited the video, it will look like I answered it quick, like I was super prepared, but I wasn't. I literally just thought about it. Like I actually gave it a real thought. Even though you asked me that on Instagram, I was like, no, I'm gonna wait for the podcast and I'll answer it. Same thing with Tom's question. I wanted to like give a real answer, like on the spot, as if you guys are right here. Hey, L. Hey, Tom. I answered y'all questions, like as if you guys are like in the studio. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Uh, Workflow. Having a workflow. My workflow for a podcast. I know somebody's probably asking that. I record onto a with the Rodecaster video, either Video S, and I have three or four camera angles. And what I like to do is record the audio. I like using the DJI mics now. Like if it's a podcast that, there's like 4 or 5 people or 4 people, not 5 people. I like to use the DJI mics because it's wireless and it just saves me a lot of time versus just wiring cable. It saves me so much time. I can't tell you the frustration of, sometimes it's like you put up the microphones. I mean, you put up the tripods or the mic arms. You set them up. You set up the mic. You plug it. You run the cable. And I'm by myself, so you put the cable. You run the cable, connect it here, and then you find out that yeah, 2 of the guests aren't showing up. Okay, that's fine. I could just put the thing, I could put the microphones away. I could put the mic stand. I could unplug the cable, but it's just that preparedness the day before, getting the mic stand, taking it out of storage, getting the cable, winding the cable, putting it in there, then connecting everything. It just takes a lot of time to set up. And then when things change or when the talent says, I don't want the microphones in the shot, or I don't like talking in front of a mic. I feel uncomfortable. You're like trying to coach them. Come on, it's fine. The it's not going to harm you. It's not that bad. I just laugh them up now. I literally just, say, hey, we're gonna have microphones, and I just put it on them, and they have no issues with it. Uh, it's a form of contention with a lot of seasoned creators because there's a thing of, yeah, wireless mics are not good. Like, they're very faulty. They don't last. The battery life is bad. It's very flaky with the signal. Um, but no, DJI Mic 3. This is not an ad. I'm not sponsored by them. The DJI Mic 3 really, they really did a good job on that mic. All right. So that pretty much wraps it up there. I don't have any other questions. Actually, before I do that, I didn't check the SpeakPipe website. That would be so cool if somebody left the SpeakPipe. I want to see because I don't know. Let me just log in because somebody might have. Nope, you have no messages. I don't know. It'll be really funny. I ended up finding a message and it was from Obama. Hey, Gil. All right, y'all. I think that's a wrap. Thank you so much for listening, watching, and if you want to be featured on the next episode, you know what to do. Especially just send a question. You can send it to my Instagram or go to speakpipe.com/Gil, and I'll play the question. Yeah, so I'll see y'all later. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Please let me know if you did. Um, I like this one. I like the feel of this one versus the first one. I feel like the first one I was just getting, the workflow, I'm ironing out all the kinks, especially with the Rodecaster video. Just learning the stuff. Like even now, like I think before what I was doing, I had my hands was physically on the board, like right. I was like on there. And there's this thing about me where I want to like do this with the Rodecaster. Like I want to press A2 for some reason. I don't know why. As I do it on my computer. I'm always, multitasking, trying to do multiple things. But the Rodecaster video, you can't do multiple things. You got to do things at one at a time. So like I love how simple everything is, but I feel like it's I don't want to say it's slow, right? I don't want to say that it's like slow or anything, but I feel like they could. Maybe it's the buttons. You know what it is? I didn't say this on the comparison for the Rodecaster Video versus the Video S. The buttons on the Rodecaster Video S feel so cheap. It's weird. I don't know what they feel like. More fluff. I feel like if I press the Rodecaster Video S, the buttons feel very. I don't know. It feels like I'm not pressing anything, but whereas I don't know. It's weird. Maybe it's just me. It feels like I'm not pressing much, but on the Rodecaster Video, it feels very tactically-ish. Like the buttons are deeper. If you have access to both of them, the buttons feel more premium, I guess. All right, that's enough of me blabbing. Catch y'all on the next one. Peace.
You know, like I feel like I kind of wish I grew up like in the hood sometimes because I feel like I would have had like more grit to me.
Do you think
I'm
you lost
so-
some street knowledge?
Yeah, I don't be knowing nothing.
Really?
I be feeling so out of place, and like all my friends call me the white girl.
So if somebody say, "Hey, what up, little mom?" What they do?
I'm like, what?
So what if a guy said?